When love gets labeled a liability, welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. This is the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. Hey, I'm LeAnne Dolce, your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft and loving every second of it. Today, I had the profound honor of sitting down with Love Jean, a voice that cuts through the noise with raw, unfiltered truth. Love Jean is doing the work that makes the world better, one family at a time, by exposing the brutal realities of just life education, adoption, foster care, scarce resources, unstable housing, and the devastating wave of misdiagnoses that trap Black families in cycles of pain. Their insights illuminate the dark corners of America's adoption and court systems, revealing what they call legal kidnapping and systemic abuse, especially for single parents raising teenagers. What I'm about to share with you comes directly from my conversation with Love Jean, and it's going to shake you, wake you, and hopefully move you to action. Let me be honest with you, there's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from fighting systems designed to break you. It's not the tiredness you feel after a long day at work. It's the bone deep weariness of watching institutions label your love as inadequate, your struggle as instability, and your family as disposable. Love Jean spoke about this with a voice strained, urgent, as if straining to be heard over inner chaos. They said just life education, adoption, foster care, resources, housing, and a number of misdiagnoses. That's it. That's the whole battlefield right there. And here's what hit me hardest during our interview. Just life education isn't some fluffy seminar you attend on a Saturday morning and forget by Monday. It's survival intel. It's the difference between keeping your child and losing them to a system that profits from separation. It's about understanding how misdiagnoses derail Black families, how foster care swallows children whole, and how housing gaps leave single parents exposed and vulnerable. Love Jean wasn't sugarcoating anything. They were screaming it because, in their words, you can barely hear yourself think in this mess. So let's talk about what Love Jean wants. Every Black professional, business leader, entrepreneur, and parent to understand three things, three truths that should make you uncomfortable enough to move differently. First, misdiagnosed aren't mistakes, they're systemic weapons. Black children and parents get slapped with wrong labels that justify ripping families apart and blocking real healing. Think about that for a second. A child acting out because they witnessed their father being incarcerated gets labeled with ADHD or oppositional defiant disorder instead of being recognized as traumatized. A teenager grieving the loss of their mother gets called disruptive instead of being offered grief counseling. These aren't clinical errors, these are tools of separation. And once that label sticks, it becomes the justification for everything that follows: removal, foster placement, adoption, loss. Second, foster care and adoption hide legal kidnapping. I know that sounds extreme. I know it makes people uncomfortable. But Love Jean was clear. Courts prioritize so called stability over truth, especially for single Black mothers raising teens. What does stability even mean when the system defines it as two-parent households, middle class incomes, and quiet compliance? What happens when your version of stability is love, resilience, and doing everything you can with what little you have? The system doesn't care. It turns love into loss. It calls your struggle neglect. It reframes your fight as failure. Third, resources and housing are the hidden battleground. Without them, education becomes a pipe dream. Just life education arms you to fight back with facts, not feelings. Because here's the thing: you can love your child fiercely, parent them beautifully, and still lose them if you don't have a stable address, if you miss one rent payment, if you end up in a shelter, even temporarily. The system doesn't ask why, it just acts. And by the time you understand what's happening, your child is already in the system and you're fighting an uphill battle to get them back. Now, let me ground this for you with the stories Love Jean shared: real families, real battles, real outcomes. Meet Tasha, single Black mother on Chicago's South Side 2024. Her teenage son was labeled disruptive after losing his mother, Tasha's partner. The trauma of that loss, compounded by his father's incarceration, manifested as anger, rebellion, acting out at school. Instead of trauma informed care, he got slapped with ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder diagnoses. Meanwhile, Tasha was juggling nursing shifts, trying to keep a roof over their heads, and dealing with housing instability that brought CPS to her door with threats of what Love Jean calls legal kidnapping. But Tasha didn't fold. She accessed community legal aid, demanded a reevaluation, and enrolled in Just Life education workshops that taught her how to advocate for her son and herself. The outcome? Her son's diagnosis was corrected to PTSD. He was reunified with her. Their housing was stabilized through a rapid rehousing program. Within 6 months, Tasha won her court appeal. Her son's grades soared by 40%. And now she mentors other mothers facing the same nightmare. Her story sparked a local policy push for culturally competent diagnostics in Black communities. That's what happens when one mother refuses to let the system define her family's worth. Then there's Keisha in Atlanta, entrepreneur, single mom to a 15-year-old daughter. COVID crushed her beauty business. One missed rent payment led to eviction, which led to a shelter stay, which triggered CPS involvement. Her daughter's so called behavioral issues were misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder. And suddenly, Keisha was facing the very real threat of permanent separation through adoption. The system saw instability. Keisha saw survival. She linked up with Black led organizations that provided foster to family resources. She self educated on her court rights to halt what the system was trying to frame as a clean adoption situation. She fought and she won. Keisha retained custody, secured Section 8 housing, and her daughter thrived after receiving proper therapy. But Keisha didn't stop there. She relaunched her business debt free and used her network to house three other families. Her triumph from ashes influenced Georgia's Housing First foster reforms, now aiding over 200 Black families every year. And finally, there's Malik in Detroit, Black father who aged out of foster care at 18 with a misdiagnosed anxiety disorder. He was now single parenting his younger brother, trying to keep them together when the court was eyeing adoption for his sibling, citing Malik's instability. No housing resources post foster exit, no support, just labels and threats. Malik found Just Life Education. The program taught him legal navigation and helped him secure transitional housing. Within 90 days, he gained guardianship of his brother and launched a youth mentorship nonprofit that now serves 50 kids annually. He didn't just survive the system, he turned around and started dismantling it, pushing Michigan bills for post 18 foster resources that are reshaping outcomes for Black youth across the state. These aren't feel good stories, these are battle reports. And every single one of them required knowledge, resources, community, and relentless refusal to accept the system's narrative. So here's what Love Jean wants you to do today, not next week, not when you have time. Today, audit your family's records for misdiagnosis. If your child, your sibling, your niece, your nephew has been labeled with anything: ADHD, ODD, bipolar, anxiety, demand a second opinion from a culturally competent provider. Demand transparency, demand reevaluation. If you're dealing with CPS, demand housing audits and documentation. Know your rights. Download those CPS transparency forms tonight. Don't wait until you're in crisis mode. Spread Just Life education in your circles. Host a workshop in your business network, your church, your book club. No more silent suffering. No more shame. No more letting the system tell our stories for us. And here's the emotional truth Love Gene wants you to sit with. You should feel fury. You should feel the gut punch of systemic theft. You should feel rage at the legal kidnapping happening in plain sight, dressed up as child welfare. But don't stop there. Let that fury turn into fierce resolve. Let it become the fuel that powers your fight, your advocacy, your refusal to be silent. Because here's what Love Jean knows, and what I know too: softness isn't weakness, boundaries aren't selfish. And fighting for your family, for your community, for your own peace, that's not survival. That's sacred. This is your soft girl era. This is where you stop carrying capes you never asked for. This is where you redefine strength, not as enduring everything, but as protecting your peace fiercely. This is where you say no without guilt, rest without explanation, and love yourself loudly. Love John's work is a reminder that we don't have to accept the systems that were never built for us. We can educate ourselves, arm ourselves with facts, build networks of support, and rewrite the narratives that try to erase us. I want you to imagine something with me for a moment. Imagine a world where a mother's love isn't measured by her bank account, where a father's commitment isn't questioned because he aged out of a broken system, where a child's grief isn't pathologized into a disorder that justifies separation. Imagine a world where housing is a right, not a privilege, where mental health care is culturally informed, not culturally ignorant, where family preservation is the priority, not family separation. That world doesn't exist yet, but it can, and it starts with you. It starts with the choices you make today, the questions you ask, the records you demand to see, the workshops you host, the policies you push for, the families you support. Because here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud: the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed. It was designed to separate, to profit, to control, to label love as a liability when it comes from Black families, from poor families, from single parents who are doing their absolute best with what they have. But you have the power to disrupt that design. You have the power to become ungovernable in the face of systems that want you to comply quietly. You have the power to stand in your truth, protect your peace, and fight for your family with every ounce of strength you have. And when you do that, when you refuse to be silent, when you demand better, when you educate yourself and your community, you become part of a movement of mothers like Tasha who won't let their sons be mislabeled, a movement of entrepreneurs like Keisha who rebuild from the ashes and lift others as they rise, a movement of young fathers like Malik, who refuse to let the system define their worth or their family's future. This is not a moment, this is a movement, and you are part of it. So here's my challenge to you: walk away from this conversation and do one thing, just one thing. Pull those records, make that call, host that workshop, share this message, donate to an organization doing this work, mentor a young parent navigating the system. Use your platform, your voice, your resources to make a difference, because your love is not a crime. Your struggle is not neglect. Your family is not disposable. And the system that tries to tell you otherwise, it doesn't get the final word. You do. This is LeAnne Dolce reminding you that softness is your superpower, boundaries are your birthright, and your peace is non negotiable. Welcome to your soft girl era. Now go reclaim it, protect it, and use it to change the world.